Morning, everyone, and welcome to this episode. And today I'm joined by Pendar from Climate Dice. Hi, Pendar.
Hello.
So, do you want to start by just explaining your journey to kind of getting where you are now?
Well, yes. Yeah. It's been really a long journey. As a child, I always dreamed of making the world a better place. I remember starting my first campaign as a schoolboy, a clean air initiative focused on walking to school. Still, I remember how powerful it was. And then in 2006, I took my force to the next level by launching My Footprint, a website designed to help people manage their carbon footprint at the time through simple daily actions. This eventually led to Mind Your Footprint, focused on empowering children with engaging and educational material about sustainability for schools. And of course, Foodkin, also known as Foodfella, and its Planet Marchoon, and all these stories and games.
Cool. And we're going to make sure we link through to some of those other websites and resources because I think even though you made those, a few years ago, there's still loads of value in those resources and yeah, that character. So let's talk a bit more then about these climate dice. How did they come about?
Well, the idea initially came to me during the lockdown. Initially, it was a Footkin storytelling dice game. However, we soon realized we needed to simplify the concept, making it more independent and accessible. That's how Climate Dice was born. What you see today is Climate Dice 2, or as we like to call it, Climate Dice Reimagined. This version is the result of extensive consultation with players, children, parents, teachers, and experts in the field, people such as Rachel, Kate, Joe McAndrews, that you know.
Yeah, so you've drawn on a kind of really broad group of experts there, haven't you, to sort of really develop these. So how then do the dice work?
Well, it's a simple storytelling game. Just roll the dice and create a story using the pictures and then your imagination. The game unfolds in three phases. So personal reflection is the first one. Start by looking at a picture on the dice and reflecting on what it makes you think of, depending on your age, knowledge, profile, experience. Each player will interpret the image differently, of course. Yeah. For example, if you roll a B, I've got them in front of me. Um, um, you might think of flowers, honey, or how much our lives depend on the bees. And then you go to the what if phase, next phase, and where you explore possibilities. You ask questions like, what if wildflowers grew everywhere? What if there were no pesticides around? What if we had beehives in every tree? Um, this is where you stretch your imagination and dream up a world that could be. And finally, you enter the taking action phase, depending on your own profile and resources. Think about what steps you could take to make your imagined world a reality. It could be something as simple as planting wildflowers in your garden or at school, or maybe it's raising awareness by talking to council about converting pavements into meadows, or even lobbying the government to reinstate laws that protect bees from harmful pesticides.
Yeah, I managed to I found the bee. There it is. Yeah, I really like that the illustration of the bee. I mean, so there's what is there? There's seven wooden die, isn't there? And
Yes.
they're made from bamboo as well, isn't it? So they're really sustainable in their
Yes.
construction. Um, and yeah, all these wonderful images to
Yeah.
inspire imagination.
And we
Um,
don't use any plastic in the packaging, never, nowhere. I mean, it's just like we try to make it as sustainable as possible. It's a
what
bit challenging for the
for the
particularly for
sourcing and
packaging and transportation these days, but
mm,
yeah, you have to use your imagination.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, what I really like is that structure you've talked about and that flexibility. So, there are these phases of how you might want to use these, but equally, depending on your own knowledge or the situation, there's so much flexibility of how, from a small child, how their imagination might kind of use this equally then with adults and with even experts, the level of depth and kind of storytelling can really expand and kind of be really broad. But what
Yeah.
then the response from teachers then? What's the response been?
Um, well, we received a great feedback from teachers, and then you can read some of their comments on the website and social media channels. Reading the reviews truly gives me hope and energy. I love when people order one, then come back for more. It's always a good sign.
Yeah, and then so recently we were really fortunate to have you down at EcoEd Cornwall, and you ran a really inspiring kind of workshop with the die, and then people took them away, and yeah, the one thing that really struck me about that workshop was how you were really leaning into that imagination and that really sensory aspect to it as well. That it's, these aren't just a sort of storytelling dice in a simplest way. That I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about that as well. That kind of
Well,
yeah.
yeah, well, I think, I mean, I believe whatever you can imagine, you can achieve. I mean, everything around us began as someone's idea, someone's imagination. Some ideas are bright and colorful, while others, well, maybe the world would be better without them. So why not using our imagination to create a world that's more beautiful, most colorful, fair for everyone, and then peaceful for all of us on this planet? That's the idea, really.
And then so there's a whole variety of support. So do you want to talk a little bit more about the wider support that teachers can access and also how they can get hold of a set of these?
Yeah. So we offer very reasonable and attractive packages for schools. Additionally, teachers can visit our website and request a free set to try out and see how it works. And then we understand that teachers are often pressed for time, and some may not have had the opportunity to receive training on teaching climate change. They might also feel unsure about tackling the topic correctly. So that's why we've developed comprehensive resources covering each and every picture and topic covered by Climate Dice, including detailed advice on how to approach climate change education for different age groups, how to talk about the topic and address these without um, causing climate anxiety or even actually addressing them. Yeah, those resources are all available on the website for free.
I think that's a really important part as well, that teachers aren't just left to their own devices. There really is that package of support around how to interpret this, kind of advice on yeah, what stories might be inspired by these sorts of things, what direction you might take it in, and then also that real focus on hope and action and yeah, sort of not leaving it in a doom and gloom and really imagining how the world could be different. You, Pendar, you're a kind of an ideas person. You're an entrepreneur as well. I wondered if there's lots of other exciting things you're doing at the moment. I mean, I wondered if you wanted to talk a little bit, just to mention the book that you're kind of developing at the moment as well.
Well, the book is an interesting one, right? So it all started when I was when I was coming to Cornwall for EcoEd, uh, and it was such a journey. I mean, it all started with while I was listening to that podcast by Dr. Bruce Lipton, um, where he compared the um, collapse with metamorphosis and how butterfly was born. So and then I yeah. So the book is I don't know what it's called really yet. I might be. I mean, at the moment, what I call it is, and so a butterfly was born, and it's the story of this caterpillar um, who is very greedy and doesn't care about what's going around in the world, and the only thing he cares is eating more and more, and and how the caterpillar goes through metamorphosis and the story of wonderful, magical, imaginal cells and the story of power of uh, imagination and community and how together we can make beautiful things happen and uh, and and butterfly is the output of that and how the butterfly and other creatures in that little garden, they help each other to make their own piece of world a beautiful place. Um, which is the yeah
Yeah.
it's still a very, I don't know where I'm going with that. I still as I don't know, probably it's to say imagination phase
Mm.
on the
Yeah, I
paper.
think there's so much potential though for something like that, and I do also think I think you're testament to the idea that if you've got an idea, you really it's worth persisting and making that idea come to life. And I think if more teachers and more people would do that, I think again the world would be such a better place. And let's get more teachers using the dice and using them to kind of inspire young people's imagination and yeah, I wondered if was there anything else you wanted to mention, or
No, no, thank you very much for inviting me to the Pico Ed and to this interview. And I love what you do, and you're really doing a great job with very limited resources that you have, and putting everything out there for teachers to use. And I really appreciate it. I mean, yeah.
great. Well, thank you so much.